Biden's student loan debt forgiveness program is officially struck down. And we're going to find out what the Ramsey team has to say about that after this. This is the Lawyer Dana Show.
Struck down Biden's student loan debt relief plan that would have forgiven up to $20,000 for federal student loan borrowers. And Rachel and I put an Instagram story out, just kind of sharing the news and giving people some next steps.
In a meeting, and the texts were coming in that the Supreme Court had ruled this, and it was like, oh my gosh, because we've been talking about this for 18 months.
It feels like 7 years
from the moment it was announced.
A long time, and
in fact, I actually posted on Facebook yesterday that it's not going to happen, and this ruling doesn't surprise me at all.
If you've been listening to the show, you know that our number one thing for you guys is that we want you debt free. We want you out of debt. So we're like,
absolutely.
Listen, if this passes and you take advantage of it, go. That's great. If you have a moral conviction against it, then don't. But it's not passed yet. Don't wait on someone else, to make decisions, aka Washington, to fix your life. So.
And in the 18 months that this has been happening and people haven't paid off their student loans, they have been accruing compound interest the whole time. And it's cost a bunch of money. So you're not getting anything for free out of this thing, unfortunately. And you've got a definitive answer. Just pay your student loans at this point. Pay them off. Get rid of that albatross. Take away that house payment without a house.
So continue to pay it on because there was no interest right now. There was a pause on interest. So you could be paying down the principal, all this, right? So this is in our head. So George and I'm like, George, oh my gosh, they shut it down. Like, it's not happening. Let's jump on the social because that's where people are.
I bet you 50 cents they got torn apart by a lot of people that don't know any better.
Just give the announcement, talk about it. Apparently we are too happy about it, is what people were saying. They said we were too gleeful.
I'm happy about it because the people that actually took out the loans are the ones that have to pay the loans back, just like I did and just like a lot of other people do. It is not fair to my neighbor down the street whose kid went to trade school that their school didn't get paid for. It's not fair to the guy who goes out and starts a plumbing company that has to invest and buy trucks and equipment and all kinds of supplies and learn his craft and trade and get his certifications that his loans that aren't paid off. Why do children who then grow up, and we all did it, we took out loans, a lot of us did. I wished that the program wouldn't have existed because I would have paid for it and cash flowed it myself. And college would have been a tenth of the price as it was. Because the government offers these giant loans, every institution has the maximum incentive to make their tuition cover more expensive than even what the loan is. So the more money that the government's willing to allow people to borrow, then the higher that the cost is. It's the number one inflated thing in the entire history of our country and in our country right now over the past 20 to 30 years. It's an absolute racket, and it's because the government is incentivizing it.
And so then we had to do another video to be like, y'all, it's not that we're like wanting people to suffer. We just always knew this was the case. So
exactly. We knew this was not going to happen.
All that to say, there is a lot of emotion around this, which we understand because also, you guys, we hate student loans. We hate this whole industry.
Absolutely. I completely hate student loans. It's an evil. Don't borrow money. Cash flow your education. I had a professor in law school, and it was just me and a couple other people that were there at the time in some kind of thing that was optional. And his comment was, education is the one thing that people are willing to tolerate not getting their money for. And I go, well, not me, because I'm paying for this. I had skin in the game. The amount of money that I got, my student loans, because SMU was so expensive, and I did get a scholarship, but with the scholarship that I had and my student loans, I was within $500 of tuition, and I had to pay for my own books and my own living expenses, and I did that waiting tables. And I worked a bunch during law school, and I earned money and supported myself. It was not easy. I was single. I didn't have any children, but it was not easy, and it was a lot of work and a lot of effort. And I didn't really have any mentors telling me how to do it the easier ways and what really to pay attention to and what not to. And so I did a lot of stuff by just brute force and making it happen. And it was stressful. It was a lot of hard work. And I did that work. I worked and worked and worked, and then have worked and worked and worked and worked and worked since then for years and years. And I've worked hard enough and paid off my loans. And I should have paid my loans because it was my education. This water that I bought that I'm drinking, I bought it. I paid for it because I'm the one that's drinking it. It's not fair that my neighbor has to pay for my water unless they decided that they wanted to give it to me. If it was voluntarily given to me, great. But government is taxation. If they forgive your loans, there's no such thing as forgiving it. It means that you don't have to pay it. They're going to force somebody else to pay it. And it's just inherently not fair.
It is predatory. People, these 18
absolutely predatory.
Year olds sign their lives.
An 18-year-old is a child. Let's face it. I mean, they're just a child. And until you're about 30, you're pretty much a child. And you're going to go into debt. You're going to be enticed about this. I remember when I was at UT Austin, along the drag, there was just tables that the credit card company set up trying to get everybody that walked by to sign up for a credit card, And I did. And you know what happened? I charged $800 on it that I couldn't pay, and it was a problem. It was a big problem. And that's not the only time in my life that I got into trouble with that. And I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have known the principles and studied the principles that Dave Ramsey teaches and the principles of compounding interest. If you do not understand compound interest, you will pay it. If you do understand compound interest, you will earn it. It's the way that wealth is created is by earning compound interest. Having your money have children year after year after year, and then your money's children has children year after year after year, and then your money's children's children has children. If you look at the growth, the input of the earnings throughout your life are like flat, but the growth is exponential like a rocket ship. And it's all about time. The younger that you are, the richer that you are, but only if you invest 10 or ideally 20 or more % of what you make. But even at just 10, the difference between being wealthy when you are my age or not being wealthy when you are my age is whether or not you invested 10% of what you made. That's it. If you did, you'll be wealthy. If you didn't, you're probably not going to be. And to increase your income and say, well, I'm always going to live off of my income is kind of foolish. The 20x principle is this. If you have 20 times more money than you need, you can stop working. Because at 20 times your earnings, or not your earnings, but 20 times the amount of money that you need to live on, if you have 20 times that and you get a 10% rate of return, you live off of 5%. So 5 times 20 is 100. That means you can live on what you need if you have 20 times more than that. And then every year, that extra 5% that you're getting, because you get a 10% rate of return, you live on 5%, and you let 5% go to growth. That 5% will mean that next year, you can live on that much more. And then the next year, that much more. And then the next year, that much more. And you get it to where your income from your money is $2 million a year, and you live off of $1 million. And then the next year, you can live off $1.1 million. The next year, you can live off $1.25 million. The year after that, you can live off $1.75 million. The year after that, you can live off of $2.5 million. That's how this growth works. And you either did it, and you did it when you were young enough, or you didn't.
Way.
And student loans are pulling you backwards. It's like an anchor.
And they have no clue what they're doing. The people, the adults in their lives, whether ignorant or believe something else, usher them into this. Like, the whole thing is frustrating. So
exactly,
we are against this whole industry. So
I am too.
We're not for it. So we want you out of it.
Exactly. Please get out of it.
But we also know that you're the one that's going to have to change your life. And
exactly. You can't keep living on borrowed money. Credit is not money. Just because you have credit available to be able to spend it, it's not money. Earn money. Make money. Spend money. Don't ever use credit.
Sitting and waiting around on any program or any one person to do that.
Yeah, the government's not coming to help you. The most evil thing that you will ever hear is, hi, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. It's not what you want.
You're not going to get the change that you want.
This is the Lawyer Dana Show.